your English podcast.
Welcome to this deep dive. We're digging into a bunch of sources today, all about something pretty exciting, how you can really give your English a significant boost over the summer. We've gathered insights on learning languages efficiently. And yeah, our mission here is to pull out the most effective strategies for you, learning on your own. We're really focusing on how just say 30 minutes a day can actually make a difference.
Absolutely. And what comes through loud and clear from these sources is that, well, consistency is key. That focused effort, day after day, beats trying to cram for hours now and then. They actually pinpoint a specific structure for that daily time. It's something they call the 10-10-10 method.
The 10-10-10 method. Okay, interesting. How do the sources suggest breaking down that half hour?
Well, the idea is pretty straightforward. You split the 30 minutes into three distinct chunks. So 10 minutes just for vocabulary building. Then another 10 minutes specifically for grammar. And the final 10 minutes, that's for practice, for actually reinforcing what you've just looked at. The goal isn't to cover tons of ground, but to be really, really focused.
Okay, makes sense. Let's dive into that first 10 minutes then. Vocabulary. What's the main strategy the sources push for making those 10 minutes really effective?
It really boils down to being targeted and learning in context. So instead of just random word lists, which, let's face it, aren't very sticky, the sources really push choosing words linked to something specific, something relevant to your actual life. Maybe you're planning a trip or need English for your job, or even just talking about hobbies. And this is crucial. They say aim for maybe 10, 15 words max with example sentences, ideally pulled from real stuff you read or hear, not just a dry dictionary definition.
Right, yeah, context. The sources definitely hammer that home. It helps words actually stick in your brain. They mention things like flashcards. Sure, they're classic for a reason, but maybe use them to recall the whole sentence or the situation, not just the single word translation. Oh, and using audio too, right? For pronunciation. Get that right from the start. It's all about building a vocabulary you can actually use.
Exactly. And that flows quite naturally into the second block, the 10 minutes for grammar. Now, the sources are clear. You're not trying to become a grammar expert overnight or, master super complex tenses right away. The focus is much more practical. It's about applying foundational structures correctly.
Like, take the present simple tense. We all learn it early on. But the sources suggest focusing on how you actually use it. Not just facts like the sky is blue, but routines. I usually start work at 9, or fixed schedules like the bus leaves in 5 minutes. So the idea is pick one thing, one structure, or maybe a common mistake you make. Focus just on that for the 10 minutes. Do some targeted exercises, maybe find examples, or write a couple of your own sentences. It's about really understanding how it functions in, real communication.
Precisely. It's about function over just abstract rules. And this understanding then feeds directly into the final and arguably most crucial 10 minutes, active reinforcement. This is where you actually try to cement what you've just been working on.
Yeah, and the sources have some really practical suggestions here. Like immediately after the first 20 minutes, try to quickly review those words and that grammar point. Maybe try to use them together somehow. They suggest things like writing a super short diary entry using the new stuff, Or even just talking out loud to yourself about the topic you picked for your vocabulary, forcing yourself to retrieve and use the new language.
Yeah, that talking out loud part is interesting. One technique the sources mentioned is basically, well, self-talk, or even recording yourself. Just speak for a few minutes about something simple, maybe your day, deliberately trying to use the target words and grammar. It actively pulls the language out of your head. And, bonus, you start noticing where you stumble or what feels awkward. Then maybe later, in another practice session, you listen back and spot your own patterns or mistakes. That's quite effective.
So, what seems really powerful about this 10-10-10 approach, looking at these sources, isn't just that it's only 30 minutes, which is manageable for most people, it's the structure. It stops you from just kind of drifting aimlessly through study materials. You've got 10 minutes for input the words, then 10 for structure the grammar, and finally 10 crucial minutes for output the practice. The sources seem pretty unified on this, that consistency, even if it's not perfect every single day, builds real momentum. Progress is possible.
Absolutely. If you step back and look at the overall message from these materials,
Yeah.
it's genuinely encouraging. They show that you really can make noticeable improvements in your English over a period like a summer. Even with what sounds like limited time, just 30 minutes a day, if you apply this kind of focused, structured method, it kind of reframes the problem. It's less about needing huge blocks of free time and more about using the time you do have effectively.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Well, it suggests that putting aside just that half hour daily, structured in this 10-10-10 way, it gives you a concrete plan, a pathway to genuinely improve your English this summer. You're constantly building vocabulary, understanding grammar, and crucially, using the language.
And thinking about that structure leads to a broader question, doesn't it? Something for
Yeah.
you to maybe ponder. If this kind of focused daily approach based on how we know learning works effectively can help you build a complex skill like English in just one summer,
Hmm.
what other skills or maybe areas of knowledge could you start developing just by carving out a similar, consistent, focused block of time each day?
That's definitely something to think about. A really powerful idea. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into making your English study time really count.